Patrik Allvin, the Vancouver Canucks GM, has some options, and there are a whole bunch of conversations that you could have if you are a Vancouver Canucks fan and you want to see the team go out there and still make some acquisitions. Now, I, for the most part, think that the Vancouver Canucks roster is more or less set. You've got your 12 forwards, you've got your guys at the bottom of the lineup that could come up here and make an impact in Vancouver rather than in Abbotsford or whatever. You have the Podkolzins, you have the Niels Ullmans, you have these extra pieces rounding out the top of the forward core. On D, you've got Hughes Hronek, Susie Myers, and then the extras, Vinny Desharnais and Derek Forbort. Not to mention Mark Friedman, not to mention Noah Juleson, the D-core is essentially set. In net, the Vancouver Canucks have Thatcher Demko, and they've got two guys fighting it out for the backup position in Artur Silovs and Yuri Patera. Of these names that we just talked about, the only one that needs a contract is Artur Silovs. He is an RFA, and he could very well get something in the $1-ish million range, because the Vancouver Canucks have some cap dollars remaining, and they also have Tucker Pullman, whose contract will allow the team to go into LTIR. They don't need to do LTIR just yet, but once Silovs' extension kicks in, because he will get an extension, they are gonna need to get into that territory. But even if you project the contract for Artur Silovs to be somewhere in the $1-point-something million range, the team will still have some dollars remaining. Which is why we go over onto this article published by Noah Strang from earlier last week. 7 puck-moving defensemen the Vancouver Canucks can still sign in free agency. The Canucks had a busy free agency thus far, and they added some solid pieces. While the Canucks have an immediate bottom 4 defense group, they do struggle in other areas. Several of their big blue liners are not the best at breaking the puck out, something the team has had issues with last season. For that reason, the Canucks may want to weaponize that little cap space they have to bring in a skilled defender who can help the team move the puck and create offense at 5-on-5. What Noah Strang does here in this article is lists 7 players who fit that description and are still available in free agency. Contract projections are provided by AFP Analytics. Starting things out here with number 1, Tyson Barrie. Okay, this is a name that I like a lot. The funny part is, with Tyson Barrie, we've talked about him and the Vancouver Canucks literally, I think every single year the guy has been available on the market for years. Like, we literally made a video talking about Tyson Barrie and Ben Hutton, that potential trade idea from 2018. Like, that's how far the Tyson Barrie roots go with the Vancouver Canucks, and rightfully so. I mean, he's from Victoria, so there's always going to be a connection there. But Tyson Barrie, this is what it said about him. 23-24 stats. He had 15 points in 41 games played with the Nashville Predators. You got to remember, Barrie also only played 1 game with the Predators in the postseason when they played off against Vancouver. He had an assist in that 1 game that he played. So he wasn't used, but he was still there. 32 years old, right-handed, 5'11", 197, and the AFP Analytics projection says that he's probably worth a 1-year, $1.75 million contract. Honestly, my only concerns with any of these guys, Tyson Barrie included, is if they sign with the Vancouver Canucks, how often are they actually going to rotate in the lineup? Because the team already has enough defensemen to fill out a top 6. And if you wanted to round things out and say there's a need for another offensive guy in the bottom 4 pairings, then okay, great. But the question is, how willing is a guy like Rick Tocchet going to do that? We know he likes his big D. We know the Vancouver Canucks like big D. But Tyson Barrie is not really a big D. He's 5'11", and normally the smaller defensemen have been rounding themselves out at the top of the lineup in Hughes and Hronek. Is there really a need to get somebody else there? Who really knows? But the option is present for a second power play quarterbacking guy like Tyson Barrie to maybe play with a Filip Hronek if you really wanted to see that manifest itself. Barrie is mobile, he can shoot, he's got playmaking, he's of course had better days point production wise. I mean, with the Colorado Avalanche, Barrie was an absolute monster. Those 50-point seasons, we will never forget those out of Tyson Barrie. But the article goes out there and says this, that he is a veteran who has been a skilled offensive defenseman in the NHL for over a decade. He has more than 500 career points from the blue line and has broken the 50-point mark 3 times. The British Columbian showed that he can still contribute offensively with 15 points in half a season last year. While he has struggled to impress with a balanced all-around game in recent years, a fresh start could be exactly what Barrie needs to find his game again. Honestly, now that I'm reading that, I don't really know if this is a fit. Defensive issues and defensive stability have been very important to Rick Tocchet, so I would be understanding if they don't go out there and pursue this player. There are other names here talked about in the article. There's a conversation about Oliver Shillington. Honestly, I don't really see him as a fit at all, so I'm just going to skip over that one. Next up is John Klingberg. That's a much more interesting name, I'd say. 23-24, he had 5 points in 14 games played, 31 years old, right-handed, 6'2", 185, and the AFP Analytics projection says that he's worth a 1-year, $1.65 million contract. Now, of course, John Klingberg had all the drama that he had had with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had only played 14 games with them. He was once considered to be one of the league's finest offensive defensemen. While injuries and age have caught up to him, the Canucks could buy low on a player who has shown the ability to perform in the past. He had hip surgery in December and missed most of last season. He's going to get much less than $4.5 million like he had signed for last summer, and he could be a good bounce-back candidate for a team willing to offer him a chance. Question is, though, are the Vancouver Canucks willing to take chances on guys who are reclamation projects? We've seen how these kinds of contracts have happened in the past, where guys go through injuries, they go through surgeries, and then they come back. So rarely do they actually work out in a positive way. I'm thinking about Patrick Kane being one of the only examples there. Other examples of bad contracts that have really not worked out well, of course, I mean, John Klingberg could be seen as one of those. Josh Anderson in Montreal is a forward option that kind of exhibited a similar thing. So it's a big risk, for sure. But are the Vancouver Canucks willing to take it? Who really knows? John Klingberg, certainly, if he comes back to the point-producing guy that he was 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago, then okay, that is a great addition. Getting on a 30, 40-point defenseman at $1-ish million a year to play in the bottom 4 pairings, I like the sound of that a lot. However, there are other names that are talked about in this same piece. Let's scroll down and read more about what the article says on Calen Addison. Okay, there's a name right there. 24 years old, 17 points in 72 games played. His contract projection is 2 years, $1.44 million a year. He is undersized, which may scare the Canucks away. Yeah, but he's the same size as Tyson Barrie. Come on here. He also is only 24 years old and thus may have the most untapped potential of anyone on this list. He put up nearly 0.5 points per game 2 years ago with the Minnesota Wild. He likely has just one more NHL opportunity before he finds himself on the outskirts of the NHL, and if the Vancouver Canucks are looking for the best bet with the highest upside, he likely fits the bill. Although, to be honest, when it comes to Calen Addison, even though I've been a big fan of him and his overall game going back to his WHL days, I don't like him as much as the guy that is listed on this article at number 6. Because, right here, it is Adam Boqvist. Okay, 10 points, 35 games played, 23 years old, right-handed, 6 feet, 189. His AFP Analytics projection is a little higher at 3 years, $2.39 million. So if the Canucks were to want to get this guy, they would need to do a little bit of heavy moving to get some dollars freed up here and there. But Adam Boqvist was selected with the draft pick right after the Vancouver Canucks took Quinn Hughes. He hasn't had the same success at the NHL level and was recently bought out by the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's still only 23 years old and has 85 points in 209 NHL career games. While he doesn't have the massive size the Canucks covet, he is supremely skilled and could offer the team a different look in their bottom 6. I like this player a lot, and the idea of having him and Hughes together really tickles my soul in a good way. Man, if you had told me all this in 2018, when we were making the Why I Want videos for the first season, when I was graduating high school, when I was jumping up and down, screaming my lungs out in my bedroom saying yes when they drafted Quinn Hughes 7th overall, if you told me back in that time frame, hey, in 2024, Quinn Hughes will win the Norris Trophy and there's a potential line mate for him in Adam Boqvist that will be available in free agency, I would have been over the moon ecstatic. Of course, you're not going to separate Hughes and Hronek, that's going to be the pairing there, but Adam Boqvist is a guy who, if he pans out in the way that we thought he could have, this guy could be rivaling Quinn Hughes. I think Quinn, for some reason, has taken 3 steps forward above all the prospects in the 2018 NHL Draft and their expectations, so he's kind of an unattainable goal at this point. But Adam Boqvist, right there, he's an option I like. It's not going to be easy to get a contract done, but of course he is just one of the 7 names discussed here. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read the rest of the names in the article here. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Vancouver Canucks defenseman targets. Do you think Barrie, Klingberg, Boqvist, Addison, Shillington? There's even a Tony DeAngelo talking here. What do you think about these guys? What are your opinions on if the Canucks should sign them? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.